Good afternoon, everybody. It's day 2 of my 5-day coach sneak peek. I wanted to thank you again for your time, and I'm really proud of you for not just closing off the door to this opportunity or just naturally assuming that you know what is expected and required of coaches, and just being open to learning more. So many times people just cap off their abilities and close doors to opportunities that could really be life changing, and a lot of it's based on fear and just not enough information or research and thought put into decision. So yesterday I discussed the different types of coaches out there, and that there really isn't a right or wrong reason or goal to have as a coach. Today I'm going to discuss your why. It's a little bit different. This is what really fuels you to become a coach. Like I said yesterday, some people just want to get the discount, others want to get their product paid for, and others have, this huge goal of wanting to, leave their current career and do this full time. One reason is not any better or worse than the other. It's really, this is your life and this is your business. For me, my why in the beginning of why I initially signed up as a coach was, I guess, curiosity and just the lack of ability to tell people no. And everything that I gave my coach as far as why I couldn't do it, she pretty much disproved. Not in an argumentative way, but then I thought, well, hell, if she believes in me, then I still don't believe in myself, but, what do I have to lose? And that's basically what led me to buy my first challenge pack too. It's like, what do I have to lose? If it doesn't work, I quit. And that's one thing that, coaches don't realize is that, you are not, bound by blood or some contract to stay and do this for, eternity. A lot of coaches, try this out and they don't like it and they quit. A lot of coaches try this out, quit, and then come back. This is a life choice. Nothing is permanent, and nothing is. So for me, initially, I don't really have a huge reason to have started this. I didn't really see or predict how my future would be. I had no idea how much this would change my life. My coach in the beginning wanted to make $40 a week. That was it. Little did she know that she would leave behind her 15-year career in the construction industry and replace a 6-figure income and, double that income, being a full-time, mom and coach. For me, once I started setting goals for the first time in May of 2012, which was, something that was pushed by my coach and was something very foreign to me. I'd never set a goal. And then when I crushed my goals, and I realized, wow, I can do this. And it became addictive, just like working out. It was hard work, but the benefits and the results were great. I remember we went on a trip in June, and I was able to pay for it all through my Beachbody commissions. And this was huge for me. The one thing that I've shared publicly is the fact that most of my life was spent just getting by financially, through my parents. My dad was the breadwinner. My mom was pretty much a stay-at-home mom. She went to work part-time when I was about 8. But it was always a struggle. I remember conversations over the dinner table or overhearing things that they were always struggling to get by. I never could afford, they could never afford to buy me name brand clothes. Any vacation we went on was always, to this religious convention. We rarely got to go on many vacations. My grandparents picked up the slack and took me to Disney World several times, took me on trips, bought me, Nikes and different things. They put food on the table several times, purchased a car for my parents, and if it weren't for them, I wouldn't have had a lot of the things I did or the opportunities that I had. And I didn't realize until I became an adult how important this was for me as a mother and a woman to, number one, not be completely dependent on my husband, and to be able to pull my own weight and be able to survive no matter what. And I don't believe in just showering children with, lavish things or name brand things or keeping up with the Joneses. But I do realize that, some of these things are important. I teach my kids that hard work and, good work ethics are very important and that you have to earn what you want. But I want to be able to provide them with the things that they deserve, and I don't want them to get teased at school for, being the poor kid, or not being in fashion. Not that that's everything, but when you're a child, it can be very detrimental to your, self-esteem. So this was important to me. We just always got by, and I don't want my kids to ever grow up worrying about those kind of things. I want them to understand that money's not everything and that hard work is required to attain certain things, but I don't want them to grow up with that, thing in the back of their head. I don't want them to have to worry about it. I don't want them to have to be subject to these conversations. So as I started earning more money as a coach, I became, more aware that I could do this. I had never been in a leadership role. I'd never been in a management role. I'd never been a business owner. I just had settled for that. It's safe to stay as an employee and know exactly what you're, going to bring home, because that's just safe. And I thought that that was the most important thing as a mother. But then I was just settling, and I remember my parents settled for this life of mediocrity, and gave up, and we just got by, and that wasn't enough. And the more that I became around, surrounded by all these positive people, the more I hated negativity, and the more I realized that I just hated my job. My boss was great. The company that I worked for, my boss and his father were just amazing people. But overall, I was stuck in this office with people that hated their life, hated their husbands, lived paycheck from paycheck, and they just, it was just horrible. I just hated it. And then, I realized too that my kids were, coming home to an empty home. They were having to pick up a lot of slack around the house because mom was too tired. And as soon as I hit the door, I was just, a bear, because I'd been with negative people all day and I couldn't wait to get home. But as soon as I got home, I had tons of things to do. And I was just really unpleasant. It was taking a toll on my marriage. It was taking a toll on my stress level. It was taking a toll on my relationship with kids. And once I started realizing that I could do something and I could have more, and that this life that I'd been living really wasn't all that was, out there, I started saying, okay, maybe I can do this. And, my coach had set the goal to become a full-time coach. And then I went to Summit in Vegas in June of 2013. And after attending many corporate events and meeting people and becoming friends with elite coaches, I realized, oh my God, they're just like me. They, they don't have some hidden talent. They don't have some upper hand. They're just normal people like me, and they're doing it. So I set this goal that I would leave behind my job. And I set a date for February 15th, 2014. Because I thought, well, that's just kind of safe, and realistically, that seemed like a pretty attainable goal and a correct deadline, because a lot of coaches had done that within the 2-year period. So I thought, okay, I'm not, setting my, hopes too high. And there was times I doubted it. It was that old negative self-talk and just going back to old thinking. But the more I pushed and the closer I got, I realized I can do this. And after 625 days, I did it. And, the driving force behind it, the days that I was tired, the days that it was, a struggle, the days that I was, running off of 4 or 5 hours of sleep, I just remembered my kids riding the bus home to an empty house. I realized how fast time's flying. Haley will be starting high school this next year, and Rebel will be 4 in 3 weeks. And I remember thinking, time is flying by, and you never get this back. They're not going to remember that I put food on the table. They're just going to remember that they came home to an empty house. They're going to remember the mom that was crazy, busy. And so I pushed and I pushed. I didn't do it alone. I shared it with them. I shared it with them what I was doing. I included them in the events. I shared with them these people that were such a big part of my life. They met some of them. I brought people into our home. I brought them to events. I made them visualize it. And, when I told them, Mom's working really hard, we're going to have to sacrifice, but in the end, this is going to be great. We pulled together. And I remember the girls coming home and, after I set this goal, and they're like, well, they were thinking, they said, well, whenever we don't have to ride the bus home, or whenever you're home, then we can do this and this and this. So we visualized this as a family. And now this is reality. I've been home for almost 7 months, and I can tell you that it was the best decision of my life. And I don't think anybody in my family, really regrets any part of the journey over the last 27 months. This was made for my family. My family's been my why. My family is still my why. Today I shared on, with Facebook that I received a letter just stating that this trip that Haley went on, or is going to go on in June, to New York, which is part of the 8th grade graduation class trip, I think it was June 10th, was completely paid for. It was almost $1,900. If I was working full time, if I said this is too hard, I would just rather spend, a couple lousy hours a week with my kids in between the stress of everyday life, because it's just too hard, and I'm not going to push for my dreams, and I didn't see, the final result, then I would have never been able to do this. And she would have lived a life like I did growing up, mom and dad who, settled for a lower standards of living than what they really wanted. Parents that lived paycheck to paycheck, and couldn't provide for their kids. But now she gets to do this, and she deserves it. She's an excellent child. She's put up with me and grown up with me over the last almost 15 years. She's a straight A student. Great kid. She deserves this, and she deserves these opportunities. And so this has been my driving force, and it still is, even though my original why of coming home to my family and firing my boss, and doing something that I wake up happy to do, I go to bed thinking about, I dream about, I live for these moments as a coach. I don't have the same goal of, the push goal of trying to get home. But my goal now is to make sure that I never have to go back to where I was. I never have to live by somebody else's schedule or to help them fulfill their dreams. We live on our own schedule. We really don't have a huge schedule, tight schedule now. We just got to live by the moment. We do stuff together. We're not pressed of like we have to eat dinner by this and you have to be in bed by this. We just kind of like go with it, and we spend time together. We get to go on trips. We get to just do fun things. I was able to take Haley to get her 8th grade graduation dress and not buy secondhand before. It's one thing she said, because it's just old habits. Mom, I need a dress for the 8th grade graduation ceremony. I need a dress for the dance. We can go by Plato's Closet because I know it's cheaper. These are secondhand clothes. There's nothing wrong with secondhand clothes, but I was like, wow, she deserves something new and pretty. So I took her out of school. We went shopping. We had the most amazing day ever. I mean, it makes me cry when I think about it. The things that we get to do, and we found the perfect dress, and we didn't look at the price tag. And it's not about money. It's not about spoiling your children, but it's these moments that you get and the things that you used to worry about, you don't have to worry about anymore. And it's been worth it. And to be able to pick my kids up from school and not have to have them ride home, and come home to an empty home, to be able to not have to rush around and be in bed by a certain time, and to just get up and do the same thing the next day and go to work with people that drain you. This has been huge. So this has been the most important thing. This doesn't have to be your only reason. Not everybody wants to leave behind their job. Some people love their career. Some people love their coworkers that they work with. Some people don't have such a stressful life at home like I did when I was working. I don't know, but I'm just saying that everybody has their own reason and their own why. And this was my why, and my family is continuing to be my why. I want them to be proud of me. I want them to know to never give up and never settle, and that hard work is something that you do as a family, and the rewards are great. The time you get together, the quality of time you get together, because you don't get it back. And I don't want to have those regrets. I shared something the other day, is that I'm able to go on all these school trips and attend all the kids' ceremonies, and do these things. I don't really enjoy being around a huge amount of kids. They give me anxiety, especially toddlers. But I was able to go on Rebels field trip on last week, and I was kind of stressed being around like 40 toddlers. My husband said, well, you don't have to go. You spend enough time with Rebel. You don't have to go if you don't like to. And I was like, I'm just complaining. But I would rather go and put up with a bunch of screaming little kids and have to walk in the rain than look back and know that I missed it. I like to have that choice. I'm still going to complain. We all complain about certain things. There's some things we just don't like. And, but these are the things that are important. I don't have to schedule doctor's appointments or anything around my work schedule. I get to be present for everything, and that's the most important thing. And if you have families or if you have loved ones, you'll understand. So I hope that, part of this, hits home, and you realize that, you should never settle, and that your family is, very important, and that you should really cherish the time that you have, and try every way you can to spend more time with them, and make sure that it's quality, that you're not just there, but you're actually present in mind, and that it's something that they'll look back on. So I thank you for listening.